What if your body was quietly burning from the inside out? Not enough to hurt, but enough to age you faster than the calendar says you should. You wake up tired, even after 8 hours of sleep. Your joints ache in ways they didn't 5 years ago. You look in the mirror and wonder when your face started holding on to every late night, every stressful week, every missed workout like a permanent record. Most people think this is just aging. But what if I told you there's a hidden fire inside you right now, invisible but relentless, and it's been burning since you hit 40? Scientists at Harvard and Stanford have a name for it: inflammaging. It's not a disease, it's not something you catch, it's something your body does to itself, slowly, silently, year after year. And here's the part that should wake you up. You can put out that fire. You can reverse years of damage. But first, you need to understand what's really happening inside you. Let me take you back to 2014. A team at Yale, led by Dr. Vishwadeep Dixit, made a discovery that changed how we think about aging. They weren't studying wrinkles or gray hair. They were looking at inflammation at the cellular level, deep inside the body, where aging actually begins. What they found was shocking. After age 40, your immune system starts misfiring. It begins attacking your own tissues, releasing inflammatory molecules called cytokines that were supposed to fight infections, but now just circulate endlessly, damaging everything they touch: your heart, your brain, your joints, your skin. This isn't a flare-up that goes away. It's a low-grade fire that never stops. Harvard researchers confirmed this in study after study. They tracked thousands of people over decades and found that those with higher levels of inflammation aged faster, got sicker younger, and died sooner. Not from any single disease, but from what they called biological aging, the kind that shows up in blood work long before it shows up in symptoms. Here's where it gets personal. If you're over 40, your body is probably producing twice as much inflammation as it did when you were 30, maybe 3 times as much. Stanford Medicine published data in 2024 showing that inflammation markers spike dramatically in middle age, and they don't come down on their own. They just keep climbing. This is why you feel different now than you did 10 years ago. It's not in your head, it's in your cells. Every cell in your body is aging faster because of this fire. Your DNA is being damaged. Your mitochondria, the powerhouses that generate energy, are slowing down. Your blood vessels are stiffening. Your brain is shrinking slightly, year by year. And the cruelest part? You don't feel it happening. There's no alarm bell, no pain signal, just a slow fade that you mistake for normal aging. But here's the truth that the research is screaming at us. Aging isn't inevitable. Inflammation is optional. What separates the 70-year-old who runs marathons from the 70-year-old who can barely walk upstairs isn't genetics, it's inflammation. What determines whether you stay sharp and energetic or fade into brain fog and fatigue isn't luck, it's whether you put out that fire or let it burn. The National Institute on Aging, part of the NIH, has spent the last decade proving this. They've shown that people who control inflammation don't just live longer, they live better. They have fewer chronic diseases. They stay independent longer. They keep their memories. They keep their mobility. They keep their lives. And you can be one of them. But you need to know what's feeding that fire. There are 3 invisible triggers setting your body on fire every single day, and you probably don't even know they're doing it. The first is something you do every night, or more accurately, something you fail to do: sleep. Not just any sleep. Deep, restorative, uninterrupted sleep. If you're waking up 2 or 3 times a night, if you're scrolling your phone until midnight, if you're getting by on 6 hours and telling yourself it's fine, your body is drowning in inflammation. Stanford researchers found that even one night of poor sleep triggers a surge in inflammatory cytokines, the same molecules that spike during an infection. But here's the thing, your body thinks it's being attacked. It sends out immune cells. It raises your cortisol. It puts you in a constant state of fight or flight. And when this happens night after night, year after year, that temporary inflammatory response becomes permanent. Your baseline shifts. You start living in a state of chronic inflammation, and you don't even realize it because it feels normal. But it's not normal. It's a fire.
The second trigger is sitting in your kitchen right now. It's in your pantry, your fridge, your freezer. Ultra-processed foods. Not just junk food. I'm talking about bread that stays soft for weeks, yogurt with more sugar than ice cream, protein bars with 30 ingredients you can't pronounce. Harvard researchers published a study in 2025 that should terrify anyone over 40. They tracked people who ate high amounts of ultra-processed foods and found their inflammatory markers were off the charts. Why? Because these foods are designed to override your body's natural signals. They spike your blood sugar. They disrupt your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria in your intestines that control inflammation. When your gut bacteria are out of balance, they start leaking toxins into your bloodstream. Your immune system detects these toxins and goes into attack mode. More cytokines, more inflammation, more aging. And it's not just about weight. You can be thin and still be inflamed. You can eat low-calorie processed food and still be setting yourself on fire from the inside. The third trigger is the one nobody wants to talk about: stress. Not the stress of a bad day. I'm talking about the stress that lives in your body like a second heartbeat. The stress of work emails at 9 p.m., the stress of aging parents and college tuition and medical bills, and a world that feels like it's spinning faster every year. Chronic stress doesn't just affect your mood, it rewires your immune system. Research from Johns Hopkins shows that prolonged stress activates something called the NIL-RP3 inflammasome, a molecular complex inside your cells that's like a match waiting to ignite. When it activates, it releases a cascade of inflammatory proteins that damage your tissues, your brain, your heart, your joints. And here's the vicious cycle. Inflammation makes you more sensitive to stress, and stress creates more inflammation. You're trapped in a loop, and every year it gets tighter. Now let me connect the dots for you, because this is where it gets real. These three triggers, sleep deprivation, ultra-processed food, and chronic stress, don't work in isolation. They feed each other. Poor sleep makes you crave processed carbs. Processed carbs spike your blood sugar and disrupt your sleep. Stress makes you eat worse and sleep worse, and all of it pours gasoline on the fire of inflammaging. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic have shown that people with all three of these triggers have inflammation levels comparable to someone fighting a chronic infection. Except there's no infection. It's just your life, your normal, everyday life. And it's aging you faster than anything else you'll ever encounter. But here's the part that should give you hope. If lifestyle can create this fire, lifestyle can put it out. Let me tell you what happens when you start fighting back. Scientists have identified 3 pathways that can reverse inflammaging. Not slow it down, reverse it. And the evidence is so strong that it's changing how doctors think about aging. The first pathway is your plate. Not a diet, not a restrictive plan, just a shift in what you eat most of the time. Harvard Health Publishing released findings in 2025 that show that certain foods act like firefighters inside your body.
Berries, especially blueberries and strawberries, contain compounds called flavonols that reduce inflammation at the cellular level. They literally calm down the cytokines that are aging you. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts contain sulforaphane, a molecule that activates your body's own anti-inflammatory defenses. Olive oil, the real stuff, extra virgin and cold-pressed, has a compound called oleocanthal that works almost identically to ibuprofen, except it's natural and it doesn't damage your gut. And omega-3 fatty acids from fish like salmon and sardines don't just reduce inflammation, they change the structure of your cell membranes, making them more resistant to inflammatory damage. Here's what a typical anti-inflammatory plate looks like. Half of it is colorful vegetables. A quarter is wild-caught fish or pastured eggs or legumes. The last quarter is a small serving of whole grains or sweet potato. You drizzle everything with olive oil. You add herbs like turmeric and ginger,
both proven to lower inflammatory markers. You skip the bread basket, you skip the sugary drinks, you eat real food, the kind that rots if you leave it on the counter, because that's food your body recognizes. Stanford researchers found that people who switched to this pattern for just 8 weeks saw their inflammatory markers drop by up to 30%. 30%! That's the difference between biological aging and biological thriving. And it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. Most of your meals, most of the time. The second pathway is your metabolic rhythm. Your body wasn't designed to eat from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed. It was designed to have periods of feeding and periods of fasting. And when you compress your eating into a 10 or 12-hour window, something remarkable happens. Your cells activate a process called autophagy, where they clean out damaged proteins and inflammatory debris. It's like taking out the trash. Research from the NIH shows that even a moderate fasting window, say eating between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., reduces inflammation and improves insulin sensitivity, which is critical because insulin resistance drives inflammation. But it's not just about when you eat, it's about when you sleep and when you see light. Getting morning light within an hour of waking up sets your circadian rhythm, which controls everything from your cortisol levels to your immune function. Studies show that people who get consistent morning light have lower inflammation and better sleep quality. And better sleep means less inflammation, which means better metabolic health. It's all connected. The third pathway is your nervous system. You can eat perfectly and sleep perfectly, but if you're living in a state of chronic stress, you're still going to age faster. The good news is that you can train your nervous system to respond differently. Researchers at Harvard and Yale have shown that just 10 minutes of deep breathing, the kind where you exhale longer than you inhale, activates your vagus nerve, which is like a brake pedal for inflammation. It sends a signal to your immune system to stand down. Mindfulness meditation, even short sessions, has been shown to reduce inflammatory cytokines and change gene expression related to stress. You're not just calming your mind, you're reprogramming your cells. And it doesn't take years. Some people see measurable changes in inflammatory markers within weeks of starting a consistent practice. Here's the message I need you to hear. You are not powerless. Inflammaging is real, but it's not a life sentence. Every meal is a choice. Every night of sleep is a choice. Every moment you pause and breathe is a choice. And those choices add up. They compound. They rewrite your biological age.
Let me bring this home with something personal. I've spent years researching aging, reading hundreds of studies, talking to researchers at places like Stanford and Harvard, and the one thing that keeps showing up is this. The people who age well aren't lucky. They're informed. They understand what's happening inside their bodies, and they do something about it. They don't wait for a diagnosis. They don't wait for symptoms. They take control now, while they still have time to make a difference. Because here's the truth. By the time you feel the effects of chronic inflammation, the damage is already deep. Your arteries are already stiffening. Your brain is already shrinking. Your joints are already degrading. But if you act now, if you put out that fire today, you can prevent years of suffering. You can add decades of vitality. You can be the person at 70 who still hikes, still travels, still thinks clearly, still lives fully. Think about what that means for you. Think about being there for your grandchildren, not just physically present, but energetic, engaged, able to keep up. Think about not needing a pill organizer the size of a tackle box. Think about waking up and feeling good, actually good, not just good for my age. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you control inflammation. The research is clear. The pathways are proven. So let me ask you 3 questions, and I want you to answer them honestly. Number 1. Are you willing to make a change today, or are you going to keep waiting for the perfect moment that never comes? Number 2, which of the 3 triggers is your biggest challenge right now? Sleep deprivation, ultra-processed foods, or chronic stress? Number 3, what is one small thing you can commit to starting tomorrow morning? Something so simple you have no excuse not to do it. Because here's the truth. The only question that matters is whether you're going to take action or keep hoping that aging will somehow be gentler to you than it is to everyone else. Spoiler, it won't. But you have more power than you think. So here's what I want you to do. Start with one thing, just one. Maybe it's adding berries to your breakfast. Maybe it's setting a consistent bedtime. Maybe it's taking 10 deep breaths before you check your email in the morning. Pick the thing that feels most doable and do it every day for 2 weeks. Then add another thing and another, because inflammaging isn't a switch you flip. It's a fire you put out slowly, deliberately, one choice at a time. And every time you make that choice, you're not just preventing disease, you're reclaiming years of your life. You're choosing to age on your terms, not your body's. I'll leave you with this. There's a study from the National Institute on Aging that tracked people over 20 years. They divided them into groups based on their inflammatory markers at age 40. The group with the lowest inflammation didn't just live longer, they lived better. They have fewer disabilities. They stayed independent longer. They had more good years. And when you look at what separated them from everyone else, it wasn't genetics, it wasn't wealth, it wasn't access to fancy treatments. It was lifestyle. It was the daily choices they made about food, sleep, stress, and movement. Those choices added up to a completely different life trajectory. And that's available to you right now. The fire inside you is real, but so is your power to put it out. But for now, just remember this. Aging isn't inevitable. Inflammation is optional, and you get to decide which path you take. Before I go, a quick note. This video is for educational purposes only. It's not medical advice. If you have health concerns, talk to your doctor. But don't wait for permission to take care of yourself. Start today. Start now. Because the best time to put out that fire was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now.